Hello, my name is Tony Beers, and this is Movie Grades.
And just like the movies, we play out our last scene.
Hello everybody, Tony Beers here again, and in this episode of Movie Grades I'm going to be talking about the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes takes place 10 years after the previous film. The simian virus has wiped out most of the human population. Caesar now has a family and leads an ape society. Meanwhile, a nearby city of human survivors needs a hydroelectrical dam which is located on the ape city. Can the two societies coexist? No, of course not. The acting is great, especially Andy Serkis himself. He's really great in this. In fact, all the motion capture actors are great. The regular actors, the human characters, are also great. You know, it's got Gary Oldman, he's a very good actor. I can't think of anybody that's bad in this movie. They're all good. The action is fantastic. It has a lot more action than Rise, and it has a lot of variety of action. I mean, you got battle scenes, you got hand-to-hand combat fights, you got explosions, there's a scene where the apes are hunting, which is very exciting. And of course, you got apes on horseback, firing machine guns, jumping over the place. So yeah, the action is excellent. The story is really good. Kind of mixing of genres here. There's elements of a war movie. There's elements of a horror movie. There's elements of a post-apocalyptic movie. There's elements of it's almost like a zombie movie, except for apes instead of zombie, and it's like a western. It's like a western movie where the settlers are trying to coexist with the Indians and stuff like that. So, and you could really see that's probably the biggest theme here. And one thing about the story is, they have a lot of. It really makes you think, on certain things, and the bad guys are have good reason for what they're doing, even though what they're doing is wrong. So that's always interesting. The humans who hate the apes, they have a good reason to hate. The apes that don't trust the humans have good reason not to trust the humans. Like, for example, there's a scene where Koba is talking to Caesar, and he's like, why are you helping these humans? And Caesar's like, they seem very desperate, and I don't feel right to, turn them down, basically what he says, and then he says, what are they doing up there anyways? And he's like, they're just doing human work, and then Koba points to his scars and says, human work, and I thought that I really liked that scene. And there's a lot of conflict in this movie. You got of course the humans and the apes, and then you got humans and other humans, and then you got apes and other apes. And that's what I really like about this movie is there's neither side is good or bad. They both this clearly show that there's good guys and bad guys on both sides of the apes and the humans. There's a few callbacks to the previous Apes films. For example, there's a scene where Caesar says a line that he says, apes don't kill apes, and I might be wrong, but I believe that's from another earlier Planet of the Apes movie. I can't remember which one, but I believe that is in one of the other ones. Also show Maurice, which is my favorite ape, by the way. He's the orangutan. They show him teaching the younger apes, and I believe that's another scene from an earlier Apes movie. And another reason why I like Maurice, there's a scene in which he is curious because this kid has a comic book, and Maurice really likes this comic book, and this kid is trying to teach him about the comic book and stuff. So I really like that. As for the special effects, they're great. They're fantastic. I mean, the CGI on the apes especially looks fantastic. I mean, I think it looks better in this one than it did Rise. So I can really see an improvement. There's a few bad things that I don't like about this movie. First off, I saw it in 3D, and the 3D is bad. It's probably the worst 3D that I've seen. There's nothing that ever really comes out at you. You can see it's 3D because it's basically the characters, and then you could see off in the distance it gets blurry, so they look like they're more right there, but nothing flies at you. And it's really bad when the 3D in the previews is a lot better than the 3D in the movie itself. Some things in the story didn't quite make sense, like the apes are riding on horseback, and they never show where they got these horses from or anything like that. They just kind of show up out of nowhere. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I never seen a scene where they showed these horses in stables or anything like that. They're just there, And there's parts of the story where it just kind of dragged a little bit, and the story just isn't as good as the first one. I think the first one is just more interesting, mainly because it's an origin story, and you're seeing the first uprising of these apes, and that was just more interesting to me than what we have here. Another thing is that the apes are very hard to tell apart from one another. I mean, they do things that they help distinguish one ape from another. For example, Caesar's son, gets a scar across his chest, so you see the scar across his chest. Or there's another orangutan. Well, orangutan, like Maurice is the only orangutan, so it's easy to tell that that's him. There's another chimpanzee, Koba, who he has a lot of scars, so you could tell that's him. But otherwise, it's really hard to tell them apart. So overall, this is a really, really good movie. I don't know if I would rank this as my favorite movie this year. Of course, there's more of the year to go yet. But it'll probably be up there. I mean, like I said, the last movie I did rank that as my number one of that year. But this, if it's not my number one, it's probably pretty close. It's right up there with Captain America 2 and X-Men Days of Future Past. I mean, they're all three really great movies. So this is shaping up to actually be a pretty good year, except for Amazing Spider-Man 2. But regardless, it's actually pretty good. And the last, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I gave that an A-. And this, I think I like just a tiny bit less than Rise. But, only a tiny bit. So I'm going to have to give it a little bit lower grade than I gave Rise. And I gave Rise an A-. But, now that I think about it, they're actually, pretty equal. I would say there's some things here that are better than the last one, and there's some things about the last one that's better than this one. For example, in this one, I think that the special effects are better, and I think the action is better. There's a lot more action and better action. So. But the other one, I think the story is just more interesting. So, thinking about it now, I think it's about even. So, I think I'll give it an equal score and give it an A-. My name is Tony Beers, and I'll see you next time.
Toxic Pop has a new Facebook page. Like it to see pictures and keep informed about our upcoming events and videos. A link is in the description. Go to www.facebook.com/toxicpop1.